No one wants their kid living in their home when they're 40 years old.
This is the Unleash Your Purpose podcast.
Here are 5 lessons that us as parents need to instill in our kids so they'll get out of the house and be successful adults. Earlier this week, I got back from a trip where I took 2 of my 13-year-old boys on a rite-of-passage trip. My wife and I like to take each of the kids out for one-on-one time when they turn 13. And it's so important when we got like 11 kids and 9 of them at home. But as we were taking these 2 boys out, I had such amazing conversations and moments with each of my boys individually as we talked about transitioning from being a boy to now transitioning to be a young man. And I was thinking about all the lessons that us as parents have to instill in our kids in order to be successful. See, these 18 years we have with our kids go by like that. So quick, and there's so much to learn. And in today's world, with YouTube and TikTok and the constant strolling, the influence that our kids have of people that we don't even know is so strong. And us as parents, we need to be the dominant voice. We don't want their teachers or the school system giving their values to our kids. We have to teach them values and what critical things to make them successful adults that honestly no one else can. So here are 5 things that parents, we need to instill in our kids, lessons that we need to teach our kids. Lesson number 1, we need to teach our kids to be emotionally disciplined. When we talk about emotionally disciplined, it's seeing that when unexpected things happen, we need to understand that we can bounce back faster than others. That when hard times happen, we have resilience. We can reset quickly. That as kids, that they see that their emotions are not the driving force of their life, but rather emotions can be a good maybe predictor or a passenger seat, but they're a terrible driver. As I've had a chance to raise now 11 kids, there are kids who have different kind of emotional bandwidths. And I have a couple of my kids that, man, they rev really, really high with emotionality. And it's actually part of a personality trait and a core part of their genetics. But sometimes I've noticed that a couple of my kids who are really emotional, you can see it all over their face. And we were telling our kids about some decisions that we're making as a family and what that looks like. And some of the kids are excited, but this one of my kids, he gets so frustrated, and you can see it all over his face. And he goes upstairs and cries and gets frustrated, and it ruins his entire day. I'm not necessarily talking about not getting their way, but they're unable to regulate their emotions, and it just throws off their entire day and throws off their entire week and continues to bring it up. And us as parents, we have to help teach our kids to become emotionally regulated. We have to say like, hey buddy, our emotions don't define us. It's okay to feel that way, but we have to reset. One of the things we do in our family is that we have one of those easy buttons, and those red buttons that were back in the day at Staples, and where you just push it, and we call it the reset button. Or it's like taking your cell phone, and when your phone gets really hot and it needs to, like it's frozen and not working well, we have to reset our phone. And us, sometimes as people, we gotta reset ourselves. We have to reset and take a moment. And that's for when we are revved really hot, we need to take a moment to reset. Lesson number 2 we need to teach our kids is to be mentally tough. For our kids to have mental toughness, that when they fail or when they have adversity, that it doesn't collapse them, but is almost just necessary part of life. That they don't fall away from having difficult moments or hard conversations, but they see them as necessary. This is why it's so important for us, even we work out with our kids. We will say, hey, we're all going on a family run. And on Saturday mornings, we'll go run a 2-mile loop. And some of the kids don't want it, but why do I do that? One, I want them to be healthy and develop a lifestyle that's healthy and good family bonding. But also like, hey, we push through hard things. We do things we do not like because why? It's good for us. It's developing kind of this battle wound or this battle scar to be able to kind of move forward and do the next thing. Last Sunday, we were doing our family breakfast, and sometimes we'll have, instead of going to church, I call it, we're going to have house church. and we'll do a devotion. One of the kids will read one of our devotional book that we have, and I'll read some scripture that I've been kind of thinking through and meditating on this week. And we are in Romans. I was in Romans 12, and it talks about, Paul was talking about being patient in affliction and faithful in prayer. And I was thinking, I was asking the kids what this meant to them. And one of my boys, who's actually a 13-year-old, went on this trip, who normally is quiet and doesn't say a word. He actually raised his hand first and wanted to share about this idea of mental toughness. He's like just talking about being like this affliction, like going through hard things. And he said, I remember when he was trying out for a new team for soccer, and he was so nervous to do it because he didn't think he was good enough, and he was playing with older boys, and he was so nervous, and he didn't think he could do it, and he wanted to give up. But for some reason, he said, I decided to keep trying. And now he is so excited for the next game and can kind of push through that, and he never thought he could before. And to me, I'm like, that's it. Like, those are small little examples of like him developing this mental like kind of callus that he can be tough enough to get to the next thing. And that is such an important part of life and for a kid to learn. The third thing that we need to teach our kid is money mastery. I'm a big believer that we need to charter our own destiny. And my hope and my prayer is that most of my kids will end up being entrepreneurs, business owners, and help make a way for themselves. In the school system, there are taught over and over again, for the vast majority, is like, you will work for somebody else. You will be part of a system, and what do you want to be? And it's not necessarily learning to master finances on their own, but learning how to manage the money. And for me, one of the things that I'm so excited for my kids getting into high school is that by the time they're in high school, they're going to have their own little small business. And teaching them these entrepreneurship skills is whether each kid has to like do a resale option where we'll buy some things and then list them online. We're kind of brainstorming different ideas of setting up a little thrift store or a retail spot or a service-based business, and teaching them the how to make their own money and value it. And we're like hyper focused on this because they need to charter their own destiny, and they need to master it, understand what it means to have their own money, what it means to give, what it means to save, what it means to spend. One little hack that we have learned is that we give all of our kids, once they're about 13 years old, a green light debit card, and it's brilliant. It's controlled on the parent's phone device. You can check exactly how much they spend on certain things, and they have goals if they want to spend money. They can pick up different gigs at home. So if they want to earn extra money, say they want to clean the pool. All right, I'll pay you $5 to clean the pool instead of me bringing out a pool guy. So I have one kid scrubbing the sides and cleaning that pool, and he gets $5 deposited that comes from my account into his Greenlight account. And it's easy ways to help them learn and save. And I'm watching my one son, who's going to be his first 16-year-old, to have his car, and already has $1,000 saved just by picking up little gigs, and he doesn't want to spend $1. So it's learning the importance of money, and money mastery is something that I know. I watched my mom save money, which was great, but I don't really remember having conversations about how to invest, how to save, and what it means to be generous. And I really take that seriously, that like in today's world, we have to teach our kids money mastery. Nourish a healthy body and also a healthy soul. When I was a young kid, I was always overweight and obese, and I always was self-conscious about it, and I remember being made fun of for it for a lot of my childhood. And then when I was in graduate school, I actually ran a clinical program for kids who are overweight, and did counseling with them. And I watched how their self-image was just like ravaged by being overweight and obese. And so much of obesity is linked to like lifestyle choices and what is in the home and what mom and dad are bringing in. So we have to be super mindful of teaching our kids, like, okay, what is being healthy? When we walk into a QT, I remember when we first adopted our kids, it was just like their whole life they would just grab a 44-ounce Slurpee and then go pour a Coke. I'm like, oh, no, we're not doing that. Hey, once a day once every couple days you can have a small Coke, and here's the size drink that you can get. And you know what? Hey, let's try something else. I remember the first time when they moved in, is even getting them to eat vegetables was like torture. And I was like, I will sit here as long as I need to, and helping them learn that, hey, here as a family we eat vegetables. And one of the biggest things that were so helpful is that we always eat dinner together and we all eat together. So they would actually help make breakfast or make dinner, and they would be involved in that, and actually helped part of that process. We're slowly taking actually more steps of trying to get ultra processed foods out of our house and trying to do more whole grain and all of that. With a lot of young kids and wanting to snack all the time, it's been very hard. But these are steps that we're trying to take, is to continue to have a healthier family. Workouts together, family workouts and family hikes are vital for us. But then that also turns into also having a nourishing our soul. For us, we want our kids to be spiritually deep and have like a love for God. So for us, it's us as parents, our role is to help not just their bodies, but nourish their soul, help them, teach them about the love of God. And for us is being involved in a church and making that a discipline in our life. We'll do Sunday devotions and Bible studies together. And I love that. One of the things that Sarah does so brilliantly is every day she drops the kids off school, she makes this turn, and then she prays for their day, prays for the kids' day. And we'll take prayer requests. And my youngest 3-year-old son is now just learning to pray. And he will, they turn the corner, he's like, okay, Mom, pray. Or, Mom, my turn to pray. And it was our second time dropping off something in the middle of the day because one of my kids forgot their lunch, and he was tagging along with Mom. And he says, okay, Mom, I pray at the turn. And like, wow, that is such a good little routine and rhythm to teach your kids, to help them nourish their souls. Fifth lesson that we need to teach our kids is to have core values. What do you stand for? What do you as a family? So for us as the Centers family, what are our core values that we stand on? And for us, it's like we have this Ohana love, that we're generous, that we adventure together, that we make the hard choice, that Centers do hard things. And we say these things over and over again because why? Because we know that language that we repeat becomes part of who they are, and it helps them develop this sense of mental toughness. That we have Ohana love, that we are generous with other people, that we care for others, that we want to develop a sense of compassion for other people, and that is who we are. So developing these core values. And these are things as parents that only we can do and instill in our kids, so we can one day get them out of our house and they can be thriving and they can be standing on our shoulders and be even more successful.
Thanks for joining us for the Unleash Your Purpose podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. We'll see you next week.